Hello, and welcome back to Follow. It's the day after Christmas 2022, and we have made our way back to southeastern Utah. Today, we are headed to Canyonlands National Park, the Needles District. We topped off our fuel tanks in Monticello, Utah, and headed north on Highway 191 towards Moab. After about 14 miles, we then turned left onto State Highway 211. If you're coming from Moab, this intersection is about 40 miles from town. This is the only paved road into the park and provides beautiful scenery as you pass along the northern edge of the Abajo Mountains, also called the Blue Mountains, and eventually wind your way down through Indian Creek Canyon. Along the way, you will pass interesting landmarks and features such as Newspaper Rock and the Six-Shooter Peaks. This area is also very popular for hiking and rock climbing. At the 26-mile mark, we made a left-hand turn off the pavement and immediately negotiated a closed gate. There is a sign indicating our two main destinations and provided us with mileages. At this point, you are only a few miles from the park entrance and the visitor center. Today we are joined by our good friends Lane and Marcia in the blue Jeep and Scott and Cheryl in the other red Jeep. The beginning portion of the trail is on property belonging to the Bureau of Land Management, or BLM. Many ranchers in the area have grazing rights, allowing their countless herds of cattle to roam the area. These gates are often found to be held shut by crude devices such as a loose piece of wire or rope. However, it's critical to leave these gates as you find them to keep the livestock from getting lost or hurt. The last vehicle in the group is responsible for closing the gate. This usually ended up being Cheryl, and thus we dubbed her the Gatekeeper. Canyonlands consists of 3 districts: Island in the Sky, the Needles, and the Maze. The Needles forms the southeast corner of Canyonlands and was named for the colorful spires of Cedar Mesa sandstone that dominate the area. We have chosen this area today specifically to explore Davis and Lavender Canyons. Lavender Canyon requires a permit for day use only. These permits are obtained online at recreation.gov. Additionally, you will need to obtain the combination for the lock on the gate allowing entrance into the park. You will see this later in the video. This information is normally obtained from the Visitor Center. However, due to the time of year, the Visitor Center was closed, so I called the main park headquarters in Moab the day before. The first canyon we explored was Davis Canyon. As we continued upstream, the canyon narrowed, making for fun, twisty turns between cottonwood trees and large sagebrush. The downstream water flow formed tight ravines within the canyon bottom itself, requiring careful navigation as well. Davis Canyon is actually a complex labyrinth of canyons etched out of the Cedar Mesa sandstone on the southeast side of the Needles District. The area consists of two main canyons and many other minor ones. Our path traveled up until this point had all been on BLM land. No permits for travel or camping are required. The park boundary is secured by a fence, and travel into the park is only allowed by foot. Entrance into the park requires a permit for overnight exploration and camping. We only had a short time to spend here, so we parked our rigs and set out on a hike. Evidence of ancient inhabitants is all around, but we had our sights set on two main points of interest: the Five Faces Pictograph panel and an ancient Anasazi granary ruin site. Speaking of five faces, check out this bunch. Among other unique features are the many indentations ground into the rock surfaces where corn was milled by the people who called this canyon home. As we still had much more to investigate today, we made our way back to the vehicles and had lunch. We will certainly be returning, as we have only scratched the surface of new and interesting attractions yet to be discovered. Back underway again, we will now simply retrace our route back to the Davis and Lavender Canyons trail junction. This is the beginning of the Lavender Canyon section. As you can see, the cows use this as an exit out of the sand wash. With the vehicle tracks stomped out, it could be easy to miss this turn. However, there is a sign. Enjoying this region in the wintertime was a unique experience. The normal blistering hot sun, typically dealt with in the summer months, gave way to crisp, cool temperatures. The sections which did contain water proved to be frozen in most spots, especially in the shade. There isn't really a road or trail in either of these canyons until you get far enough up they begin to get narrow. You basically just follow the wash and pick the smoothest route possible. If you remember from the sign, it was 8 miles to the park boundary up Davis Canyon and 14 miles up Lavender, so we needed to keep a decent pace. Our goal was to be back to the highway by dark, which at this time of year was about 5 o'clock. It was so calm and peaceful. as we had the entire place to ourselves. Even during the normal peak season, this remote area doesn't see the heavy traffic as does the rest of the park. It's a great way to escape the crowds and have your own personal experience with nature. As the sun continued to sink lower in the sky, the canyon walls began to constrict. Snow and ice began to be more common, which only added to the fun. This is the park boundary on the Lavender Canyon side. To continue by vehicle here, you must have obtained a permit and received the 4-digit code to the combination lock on the gate. Once inside, you are treated to a truly amazing area, full of towering sandstone cliffs, unusual rock formations, and a plethora of natural arches. Here we have Lane auditioning for Cheryl's role as gatekeeper. Lavender Canyon was named after David Lavender, a rancher turned author who was an occasional guest of the nearby Dugout Ranch and knew the area well. When Canyonlands National Park was created in 1964, its boundaries were drawn to include the upper parts of Lavender Canyon. There is nothing extreme on any parts of these roads or trails. You do need a high clearance 4-wheel drive and, as always, keep in mind the conditions and challenging sections will change dramatically depending on weather. In the summertime, when the washes dry out, the deep sand can become an issue as well. It's always fun to get out and be a little bit silly, but professional ice skaters, we are not. The driving portion of the trail terminates just upstream from Cleft Arch. This is one of the largest arches in the canyon. You can hike beyond this point, but the light was fading quickly and we needed to turn around and head out. Again, we were left with the realization we will have to return when we have more time. So much terrain was left unexplored, and I know we missed countless ruins and arches. One arch we did stop quickly to see was Teapot Arch. This arch gets its name from its resemblance to the handle on a teapot. Once again, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like, share, and subscribe to keep the channel growing.